All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi and welcome. Thanks for joining our webinar. We will be starting shortly at 10:30 a.m. Do you have any questions in advance about today's topic? Feel free to type now into the question box. I'm Nicole Stack and I work at Legal Aid New South Wales. I'm here with Lauren Judge and Tanya Oslin from the Revenue New South Wales Debt Resolution Unit. We are broadcasting this webinar from Parramatta. I want to acknowledge and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on whose land we are broadcasting this session today. The webinar will be about 45 to 60 minutes long, a bit longer today as we're going to go through the enhancements on the portal. It will include time for questions and answers at the end. In 2018, we are having these webinars monthly, plus extra topics once a quarter. Keep an eye on the Legal Aid New South Wales webinar page to find out when they are next scheduled, or you can send an email to cle@legalaid.nsw.gov.au and ask to be signed up to our Law for Community Workers alert that comes out every 2 months with information about our webinars, workshops and podcasts. To ask questions, see the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. In the control panel is a box where you can type in questions. Sometimes your control panel might shrink. To expand it again, there is a red button with an arrow in it. If you cannot see the full control panel now, or this control panel shrinks, you can click on the red button to make it reappear. You can type in questions for us during the webinar and we will respond to individuals as they come in. Some of your questions we may leave until the end to answer if we think everyone will benefit from hearing this answer. We will also be sending a FAQ sheet out after the webinar which captures all the questions asked. Telephoning in. If you are having trouble hearing us via the internet link, you do have the option to telephone into the webinar to listen via your phone while you follow the presentation online. Details of the phone number and access details are in the control panel. Polls. We will be using polls throughout this webinar. To test the poll function and that you can hear us, we'll do one quickly now. So the first poll question is, what is your experience with the Work and Development Order Scheme? 1, I know nothing about WDOs. 2, my service is a WDO provider but I haven't supported anyone yet. 3, I've done between 1 to 15 WDOs. 4, I've had heaps of experience. Okay, we'll close the poll now.
You can see the results coming in there, Nicole.
Okay, so we've got a few that have done a bit and some that have done nothing at all, and in between those that are with a provider but haven't actually supported anybody themselves.
That's right. Just trying to share the poll now. Here we go. It should be appearing to everyone soon. There we go.
Okay, so there's the poll results. So few that don't know anything, so you better get your listening ears happening.
And hopefully we can teach you something.
Right. And the remainder, hopefully we can put you in a better place to deal with work and development orders.
That's right.
Okay, so after the webinar, you will receive a survey and it will help us if you can give us some feedback. An hour after the webinar, you will receive an email with links to where you can get further help and information. So before we start, let's quickly set the scene about what this webinar is about and what you will hopefully be able to take away from this session to help with your work as a WDO sponsor. Okay, so today's topics that we're going to cover are overview of fines and WDOs, the WDO Self Service Portal, create a new WDO application, client activity reports, tips and tricks, resources that will follow this seminar, contacts for help, and the questions. Please feel free to ask questions at any time throughout the webinar. You will see this new WDO design, which is on the new Legal Aid resources to promote the service to clients. You can order free copies through the Legal Aid New South Wales website publications page. Okay, so here we have the types of fines in New South Wales. It's important to know what you can do a WDO to pay off both court fines and penalty notices. So there's two types of fines. The first one is court fines. These are paid directly to the court but enforced through Revenue New South Wales, or penalty notice. These are mostly issued by the police, transit officers, council rangers. They're paid directly to the issuer of the fine or Revenue New South Wales, and they are enforced by Revenue New South Wales. These cover a wide range of regulatory offences like driving offences, parking offences, not voting or appearing for jury duty, dog off leash, not having a train ticket, no bike helmet, etc. There's a long list. Okay, the next page is an example of what the penalty notices look like. So number one is a fine that's issued on the spot by an issuing authority. Picture number two is a penalty notice that's normally issued by Revenue New South Wales, and most of the time these are your camera offence fines. The third one is a penalty reminder notice. So a penalty reminder notice is issued 21 days after the penalty notice or once it's been loaded onto Revenue New South Wales system. And if the penalty reminder notice remains unpaid, the next fine that's issued is the overdue fine notice. Okay, so what happens if you don't pay your fines and you end up with an overdue fine that then doesn't get paid? Okay, firstly it goes to Revenue and an additional $65 is added, or if you're under the age of 18, an extra $25 is added. It's important to note that all enforcement actions stop when fines are brought under management, such as organising a payment plan or setting up a WDO. So when Revenue New South Wales first commences enforcement action, they have a number of options which they can do. So the first one is a registration or licence suspension or cancellation of doing business with Roads and Maritime Service. When this is placed on, an additional $40 fee is also added to the fine. Okay, so if nothing's done at this point, Revenue New South Wales can then commence civil action, and a further costs are added, normally another $65 at this point. So they can be garnishee orders where they can take money directly from a client's bank account. A property seizure order where they can ask the sheriff to go out and seize property to sell to recoup the funds. An examination notice, which doesn't happen very often. It's basically just telling someone they've got to front up to court in regards to their financial circumstance. Charge on land, that's normally for only substantial debts and people who own property, so they can actually put a charge over their land. And a community service order, which doesn't happen too much these days, as the WDO is basically the way people deal with paying off their fines through community service. So the Work and Development Order Scheme has achieved amazing results since it was first piloted in 2009 and then rolled out from 2011. We recently learnt that over 100 million of fines debt has been cleared by the WDO service. So big shout out to all you WDO sponsors who work with people every day to clear their fines debt. The Work and Development Order Service is delivered by three organisations. Revenue New South Wales, who manage unpaid fines in New South Wales and issue WDOs. They can be contacted on the hotline 1300 478 879 for help with the online self-service portal. They also process new WDO sponsors and variation applications. The Department of Justice, who administer the WDO scheme, including overseeing the WDO guidelines and audits. Legal Aid New South Wales has 6 WDO teams across the state. We promote access to the WDOs across New South Wales, provide sponsor training, develop WDO resources and provide a specialist service for clients with unpaid fines. You can find the details of your closest WDO team on the Legal Aid New South Wales website. Just search WDO. Okay, so this screen is who can do a WDO. There are 6 eligibility criteria for a WDO listed on the portal. So in the recent guideline changes, this included young people under the ages of 18 as a new eligibility category under acute economic hardship. However, the sponsor must be satisfied that the young person is unable to pay the fine and does not possess substantial assets. The other eligibility criteria are acute economic hardship, homelessness, mental illness, intellectual disability or cognitive impairment, and a serious addiction to drugs, alcohol, or other volatile substances. Other changes to the eligibility criteria include OS study and AB study are now counted as Centrelink benefits. People experiencing family violence involving financial abuse are recognised, and the guidelines note that the nature of domestic and family violence often results in a person being unable to access family income and as such should not be precluded from the WDO scheme. Evidence would include a letter from a service working with the person stating their situation or a copy of an ADVO showing the person as the PINOP. The mental illness category has been expanded to recognise personality and other addictive disorders as a mental illness. This may include gambling disorders, schizotypal and antisocial personality disorders in accordance with the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. Now we are going to do a poll regarding eligibility. So the second question for the poll is, a person is eligible for a WDO on a basis of a serious addiction, can participate in any WDO activity. Is this true or false?
All right, let's see what answers we get here, Nick. Right, they're coming in. Try and share it to everyone. Okay, just trying to figure out how to share it. Sorry, everyone. Here we go. Coming up now.
Okay, so we had 75% of true and 25% at false. Those 25%, you are correct. A person eligible on the sole basis of serious addiction can only participate in drug and alcohol treatment. All other eligibility allows a person to do any activity. However, if your client is eligible under another grounds, this will enable them to do other activities. You can list more than one eligibility when setting up a WDO on the portal. Thank you for your participation.
Okay, just moving on. Right, Nick. That's interesting, isn't it?
It is. So yeah. I'll hand over to Lauren now in regards to the different types of eligibility criteria for Centrelink.
Okay. So when a client is eligible under acute financial hardship, you'll be asked to enter the client's Centrelink reference number, CRN. You will then be asked to identify which benefit, as you can see from this screenshot. The new benefits added to the list are OS study and AB study. And just note the Department of Veteran Affairs benefits is listed below the other benefits, as although it is an eligible benefit, it's not paid directly by Centrelink. Okay. Nick, we might just do another poll. What do you reckon?
Yep, why not? Okay. So the next poll we're going to look at is, what is your confidence level with the WDO management system, the Self Service Portal? So first one is help, I've got no idea. Second one's, I've used it, but I'm not confident. Thirdly, I'm fairly confident, but I have some questions. And last, I'm an ace. I should be running this webinar.
Okay, we'll just close it and we'll share those results. Coming through.
Okay, so we've got 42% that want help. So hopefully we'll be able to assist you there. 32% at fairly confident, so that's pretty good. And 25% as I've used it but not confident, so hopefully we'll be able to give you some more confidence today.
Well, there's 2% ace, Nick. Maybe they
should be running. Maybe they should.
All right.
You didn't put it in, did you?
No, not at all. Maybe it was Tanya answering the questions. Okay, let's hide that and move on.
Okay, so we've just got a story here about a WDO client. So Reva lives in a women's refuge. She was separated from her children due to complex issues, some of which were mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. Reva also experienced domestic violence from her ex-partner, which left her homeless. She has unpaid fines of $1,046 and will be doing some mental health treatment and education to reduce her debt.
All right, so I'll just take over, Nick. So as well as checking if someone fits the eligibility criteria, it is important to understand some restrictions around the type of activities people can do as a WDO. Therefore, additional questions you may need to ask about the activity the client wants to do to pay off their fines are, is the activity ordered by court? This does not include community treatment orders or Section 32 orders. Is the activity being undertaken for the purpose of receiving Centrelink benefits? Is this activity compulsory school attendance for under 17 years? Is this activity being undertaken for the purpose of a traineeship or apprenticeship? Does this activity provide personal benefit to you or any staff member connected to the WDO sponsor? So I might, if we move on, demonstrate setting up, logging into the portal and entering a new application using screenshots from our recent update and new look. All right, so we've changed our name from Office of State Debt Recovery to Revenue New South Wales. You will notice a new look and feel to the self-service portal. Now, to log into the self-service portal, you'll need to visit Revenue New South Wales's website and follow the links as per the slide. So you need to log into the Work and Development Order Self-Service Portal, otherwise known as SSP, enter your username, typically your email address, and your password. Select Login. Once successfully logged in, the main menu appears on the left side of the screen, and you will notice the current reporting period will display in the centre of the screen. It's a good reminder. I'm going to run down through the functions on the main menu. So create a new application. This is where you create a new work and development order application for your clients. Retrieve application. This keeps saved applications or applications with a status of unmatched or pending, which will go into some of those statuses later with an explanation. Retrieve WDO. This is where your open and closed WDOs sit. SSP User Transaction Summary. This transaction summary contains a total summary of the organisation for WDO history, including dollar value. Account profile. Your own details can be updated here. As an example, your email address. Change password. Passwords expire every 180 days. You will be prompted to change password. User maintenance. This is only available for admin users. Admin users can add new case managers or make changes to current case managers' details and statuses. We'll go into the difference between admin and standard users a little later also. Sponsor details. Although every user of the organisation can view this section, only the admin users can make changes to the organisation's address. At the bottom of each screen within the WDO portal, there are links to the user guide and guidelines on each page. The WDO user manual will be uploaded in due time with the new enhancements. So we might create a new application, Nick. So we click on Create New Application, and we first appear at the validation section. A 3-point match is important to identify the client and match their application to Revenue New South Wales system. Any field with an asterisk is mandatory, and you will not be able to progress through the application without filling in those points. If you have any other information for the other fields, please include it. Does the person have outstanding penalty notices or court fines to include on the WDO? In most cases, you will answer no to the first question, and we recommend this unless the client has advised of a new fine. If you answer yes, you are required to provide a reference for this later in the application, and the application will have a status of unmatched. We'll speak to you about that later. Note, this field is not only numerical format. You can type the words include all fines or include all once you get to that section as well. Okay, the document reference number, it's not a mandatory field. However, if you have an enforcement order number, previous WDO number, or any reference number relating to Revenue New South Wales, you can enter it here. All right, we'll select next. Okay, so we've now moved on from validation to sponsor details. With the new look and feel, you can see the headings that you've just been through look more what would you say, Nick? User-friendly, you
Yes.
can actually expand on that validation where you can see that minus or plus point. So you can select an alternative case manager from the drop-down if the WDO is being allocated to another case manager. However, if you're submitting for yourself, select your name, and then we'll select next. The next section of the application is client details. Again, asterisks indicate mandatory fields. Now see the question, use sponsor's address. If you select yes, this will result in mail being sent to the sponsor address. This is an option to use if you're a residential rehab, etc. Select whether the client is receiving Centrelink benefits. If yes, this is where you need to enter the client's customer reference number, CRN, and select their benefit type. The next two questions, Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander or culturally and linguistically diverse community, are stat-based questions. Note, the options at the bottom of the screen have changed. You can cancel the application, choose to save the application here, print what you have completed so far, or to continue on, click Next. So we've reached the Work and Development Order Grounds section of the application. The source is what the client is to the organisation, the sponsor, existing client, new client or referred by another agency, so you'll select one of those. Select the grounds of the client. Note, juvenile grounds has recently been added with the changes to the Work and Development Order Guidelines 2017. You must confirm that you have retained proof of eligibility by selecting yes. And do not select save as you have not completed the application or submitted it to Revenue New South Wales. We must select next at this point. Okay, after the grounds is proposed WDO activity. Select from the drop-down the activity type your client is going to participate in. Then select the activity details for that type of activity. If the activity details is listed, please choose and only use other when required, as this will result in the WDO being reviewed by Revenue New South Wales prior to the WDO opening. Depending on which activity you select, you'll be asked to confirm the activity is voluntary and there is no personal gain for a person at the organisation, including ordered by court, Centrelink benefit, compulsory schooling, traineeship, apprenticeship. Estimated number of hours per month. This should be decided prior to lodging the Work and Development Order application. Start date. This will automate to today's date. You can enter a future date if you know the exact date the activity begins. Please be aware Revenue New South Wales do not backdate any client activity hours. The reason we can't backdate stems from Section 99B and 99E of the Fines Act 96. How will the activity be provided? Select whether the activity will be provided directly by your organisation or whether you are referring the client out to another organisation for them to participate in the activity. If you have selected one or the other and your organisation does not have that approval to do that, an error will appear. Select Next. Okay, now a summary of the activity you just entered will appear, and if the client is participating in multiple activities, you can create a second activity by selecting Add New Activity. I think we might be one screen ahead, Nick, are we? Might just try and flip back and we'll see. Yep, that's all right.
Must have double clicked.
That's all good. I'm sure everyone caught up with it. So yeah, you'll see that summary. And if you didn't want to add a new activity, we just simply select Next. All right, Nick, you may put that new screen up. Now we've reached the existing debt section. So authorise Revenue New South Wales to add new enforcement orders to WDO. Wow, what a question. This question is asking you if your client incurs a new fine and it becomes overdue, would you like us to automatically add it to their WDO? It is important to note that answering yes will only add a fine once it is overdue, not at penalty notice stage. The client must always inform you of new fines. Note, when you say yes to auto add, Remember, the fine has to go through its full life cycle as a penalty notice and will not automatically add until it is enforced, so it becomes due. Has an existing payment plan. The system will advise you if the client has an existing payment plan. You can opt to keep or close a payment plan along with the work and development order. If the system is not recognising a payment plan that you thought existed, be sure to indicate if you would like it to continue by selecting yes or no to the question, set up payment plan along with WDO. All right, we've hit next. Okay. Right, we've got it. Conflict of interest. You'll be asked to declare any conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest and how the conflict will be managed. If you select yes, you will need to disclose the conflict and the application will be reviewed by Revenue New South Wales. We understand sometimes conflicts cannot be avoided, so please be honest and disclose to us any conflict and how it would be managed. You must agree to the terms and conditions before selecting submit to lodge the application to our office. Now the application is completed and submitted. Okay, so after submitting, you'll see a screen like this appear. Okay, there it is. And it will be advising the WDO record has been created with a status of open in green. You can see that. If you're unsure if it worked, retrieve WDO or retrieve application from your main menu list. You could go into those sections and see if your client is there and see what status it has. You will receive an email once the WDO has an open status. So the following slides will show you the statuses other than open and we'll give an explanation on them. Okay, if the WDO application status is pending, the application has been successfully submitted to Revenue New South Wales. Therefore, the WDO client activity hours will begin from this date. However, the application will be reviewed by the WDO team prior to opening. Reasons as to why the WDO application may have this status can be an existing work and development order, a payment plan, a garnishee order, etc. We try to open the application as quickly as we can. It's subject to staff availability. Okay. If the WDO application is unmatched, the application has been successfully submitted to Revenue New South Wales. Therefore, the WDO activity hours will begin from this date. However, the application will be reviewed by the WDO team prior to opening as well. A warning, enforcement action may continue while the WDO is at an unmatched status. So, for example, RMS restrictions, garnishee orders, etc. The RMS restrictions will not lift on your client's file until the WDO has a status of open. We try to match the application as quickly as we can again, but subject to staff availability. Okay. If a WDO application is partially completed and you have selected save instead of submit, you will see a message displayed advising the application is saved. It is important to note that the application has not been submitted to Revenue New South Wales. Our office does not backdate WDO activity hours, so please ensure you submit the application. All right. Let's have a look at Noel's story, Nicole.
Okey-doke. So back over to me and we're going to have a look at another WDO client story. So Noel is a 49-year-old man with a drinking problem. He has unpaid fines of $2,179 for driving offences. Noel felt overwhelmed by the debt and was worried about supporting his family. His doctor referred him to a clinic for some counselling to help with his addiction. Last month, Noel completed 6 hours of counselling, which will be counted towards his WDO.
Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate setting up a new WDO activity once a WDO is already entered and completing a client activity report for Noel's 6 hours of counselling with a WDO sponsor. To add a new activity to an existing work and development order, select Retrieve WDO from the main menu. Your WDO record list will appear. Find the client you wish to add the activity to and select Edit. So this is Noel's WDO activity appearing, even though we have John Citizen. We'll just pretend it's Noel's. So you click WDO activity and it expands open, and then you'll select add new activity and you'll complete all the fields. Okay. We'll complete all the fields and then you'll select next. Okay. You'll be directed back to the WDO record screen and you'll need to expand WDO activity again. As you can see, your new activity has been added. If Noel was no longer completing the counselling activity, see at the right-hand side of the listed activities, you can select deactivate. Be sure to select save at the bottom of your screen to complete the process. So you've successfully added another activity. After you hit save, that screen will appear and you know it's done. Okay, we might complete some reporting now. So reporting periods open on the 15th of every month. Client activity reports, or CARs, must be entered on a monthly basis. Overdue delinquent activity reports will result in contact by Revenue New South Wales. From the main menu, select Retrieve WDO. Your WDO record list is displayed. And to report, click on Client Activity Report, the CAR button. Always complete overdue or delinquent reports, delinquent being 4 months or older, before completing the due report. Select the Add Amend to view the report and enter the client activity hours. At the top of the screen, you're advised of the reporting period you have selected. Answer no to nil activity report. Enter hours worked in round numbers and add a comment if you wish to. Acknowledge you have retained proof, and then we'll select save. Okay. If the system notifies that a client has a zero balance in red, select click here to print a certificate of achievement. Important note, the certificate will need to be printed then, as it only displays once and then is lost. You've now completed a monthly report for when a client has attended hours. It's that simple, Nick.
Too simple.
Select next slide to display that certificate. Yeah, awesome. And there's that certificate of achievement. I think it's a great way for clients to end a work and development order and, take away that certificate of achievement and be proud of what they've done.
And a lot of them are very proud of receiving that. Sometimes it's the only certificate they've ever received.
That's exactly it.
It's very good.
Okay. So what have we got next, Nick?
Okay, so we've got another story here. This is Dean's story. So Dean is 17 years old. He has some train fines for not carrying his concession card. Dean does not earn an income, but is doing some mentoring with his local youth group. He has already worked $1,000 off his fines through a WDO. However, last month, Dean could not attend his mentoring sessions because he was studying for exams. So Lauren's going to demonstrate how to do a nil activity report.
That's right. So it's important to report to us even when a client has not participated in their WDO activity for the month. This is known as a nil activity report. Again, from the main menu, you'll select Retrieve WDO. And from your record list, on the appropriate client, select Client Activity Report. Answer yes to nil activity report. Select the reason the client did not attend for the month. Add a comment to allow Revenue New South Wales to see the reason for not attending the activity. It's important. If the client has not complied with their activity for 2 to 3 months, consider closing the work and development order. Revenue New South Wales may contact you via email to inquire why 2 or more nil activity reports have been submitted. Okay, select save. And now we might go through a few tips and tricks about the portal.
Okey-doke.
We have password resets. This is a big one. We tend to receive a lot of calls about password resets, and hopefully this might give you a bit of help amongst that. So passwords expire after every 180 days. If your password has expired or you cannot remember your password, you'll see a message saying, please correct the errors on the form. Login failed. you'll need to request a new password via the WDO SSP login screen. If your initial login fails or your password has expired, you can reset your password by logging into the portal with your username and type anything within the password field, just something to make it fail. Click on the login button. Click on the reset password link to request a new password at the bottom of the screen, and then select login. Next slide. Okay. You'll need to enter your username, which is your email address, your surname, and then the code shown below. You will receive a message to confirm a temporary password has been sent. You will receive a temporary password via your email. You can then update to a more permanent password. Tip: please do not auto-save your password, as this will cause issues when your password expires. Let's take a look at the difference between administrator and standard users. Okay, so WDO administrators. Each sponsor can list 2 administrators, 1 primary administrator and a secondary administrator. The remaining case managers will be standard users. Primary administrator. So a primary administrator can view all WDOs on the self-service portal, amend contact details, deactivate and create new WDO users, complete reporting, change case managers on an active WDO for all WDO users. A secondary administrator has the same permission as the primary administrator, except they're unable to deactivate the primary administrator. If there is a change in your organisation, please contact our WDO team via email with the updated details, including name, email address and phone number of the new contact. Standard users. They can create new applications, complete reporting, amend contact details for clients managed by the case manager only. Standard users can also allocate their own WDOs to another case manager, which is a good one, Nick. If I was a standard user and going on leave for some time, I could just allocate my workload to you.
That is a good idea.
So now here's some tips on searching for work and development orders. So retrieve WDO application from the main menu, and then you'll see instead of having, so the filtering functions have changed and your WDO applications can be sorted through advanced search function instead of the old filter buttons at the top of the headings on the old portal style. So we'll select advanced search. Under the status drop-down, you can sort by not validated, validated, unmatched and cancelled. The meanings of these statuses are, so we'll just run through them. Not validated, partially completed work and development order application, not submitted to Revenue New South Wales. Validated is a partially completed WDO application, also not submitted to Revenue New South Wales. Unmatched, successfully submitted, but will be reviewed by Revenue New South Wales prior to opening. And cancelled, the WDO not active, the application is actually being cancelled. Okay, so not only can you filter your search and retrieve application, but you can also filter for retrieve WDO. So we'll go through the advanced search options in retrieve WDO. So under the status drop-down, you can sort by open, closed, cancelled or pending. And under the report status drop-down, you can sort by delinquent, due, overdue or reported. You also have the option to sort by case manager. You have to just select submit to enter your search in. Okay. And if you wanted to locate a WDO by client name, you can enter in all or part of the client's name. Be sure to place a percentage sign in front of your search if you're searching for part of the name. Okay, so I've got some of the name in there and we've selected submit. And then all of the WDOs with that name detail will appear. All right, so that's our advanced search options. I'll hand you back to Nicole.
Okay, so next bit is just the resources that are available for WDO sponsors. So the list on the screen is of the resources that will be sent out to everyone who has attended this webinar in an email after we finish today. So we've got a step-by-step guide to setting up WDOs, We've got the client eligibility checklist, client details form, short user's guide for the WDO Self Service Portal, and a summary of changes to the WDO guidelines. There's also a list of our contacts. So here are the contact details for getting in touch with Revenue New South Wales on the WDO hotline and Legal Aid New South Wales WDO teams. Okay, so now we'll have a quick look at the questions. We'll take some time to answer the questions that have come through during the webinar. If you would like to ask a question, please feel free to type it in now also, and we'll answer as many as possible in the time remaining. Remember, you will be receiving an email after we have finished with a survey about the webinar. We appreciate your feedback. Also an email with links to a number of resources, and you can contact us if you would like anything clarified.
All right. Tanya, how are those questions coming along? Is there anything you'd like us to answer maybe in front of everyone? Just sifting through the many questions.
If the clients are attending more hours, can they put those hours in than the actual WDO activity?
Okay,
yeah.
So for example,
talk about the compliance rates.
Yeah, in the WDO guidelines there is a section on cut-out rates. So no matter the amount of activity a client does per month, it will cap at $1,000. A good example might be if we put in a client, Nicole, and said they were doing 10 hours voluntary unpaid work, but they actually did 12 for the month. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, enter in that 12 in your report, and the system will calculate up to that cap of 1,000. The only different ones, so you've got your hourly rated ones being that voluntary unpaid work at $30 an hour. You've got your educational, vocational or life skills courses or financial or other counselling, including case management. They're paid at $50 an hour. And then you've got your compliance rate stuff. So when we talk about compliance rate, we might talk about medical or mental health treatment, drug and alcohol treatment, or mentoring program. Their compliance rate, probably an example I'll give you, compliance works on, so whatever the sponsor sets the client for a month, whether it be 10 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours, they have to comply with that to receive the full 1,000 for the month. If they only turned up to, say, 5 of 10 hours set, they'd receive a partial compliance rate of $500 and so on.
So if they actually were in for 10 hours but complete at 12, they wouldn't get any more than $1,000 because they're already compliant with that full 1,000.
And that's the difference. Exactly. All right.
Very good. We go over the primary ad and the secondary admin.
Okay, so we want to look at primary and secondary admins again. It can be all very confusing. Like we said, each sponsor organisation can have 2 admins and as many standard users as necessary. The difference between, so the admins, upon initial setup of being granted WDO access, the organisation will enter in one person that the access is given to. They become the primary administrator. From there, that primary administrator can add a secondary administrator and give them access to the portal. The primary administrator and the secondary administrator have exactly the same rights. They can do several things. They have a whole overview of the WDO sponsor Nick, can you expand on? I'm getting lost.
No, that's all right. So basically, they've got the same access rights. The only difference would be is if your primary administrator left, the secondary administrator isn't able to go in and make themselves the primary. So they would need to ring Revenue New South Wales and say, I'm the secondary administrator, I want to add another administrator and me to become the primary. So if you ring Revenue on a hotline number, they'd be able to fix that up for you, and then you could go in as a primary then to add a secondary.
That's right. We'd probably usually like an email about the change of detail as well, just so we can update not only our systems but Department of Justice systems as well. Okay. Tanya's busily typing away. Keep those questions coming. We like to keep her busy.
Exercise her fingers.
So can you explain more about the Certificate of Achievement and when they can just see that?
So the Certificate of Achievement will only appear to you after reporting if you've entered in enough hours or the client's done enough hours to take their debt balance down to zero. And that's when it appears.
Yep. So basically, when they've completed the WDO and it's closed with no balance outstanding.
That's right. If for some reason you miss being able to print that certificate after the balance has reduced down to zero, and it's not appearing to you to print, don't hesitate to contact the hotline and we'll see what we can whip up for you. All right.
Can't retrieve it.
Can't retrieve it, but we can do one.
That's right. We could create a certificate if need be. If you've missed that, I'm pretty sure we could find a template and do something. Pardon? So our email address that you can email about it would be the WDO team, which is, if you've got your pens ready, wdo@revenue.nsw.gov.au. Okay.
Work for the dole cannot be included.
We're just flicking through our guidelines to look at stuff about activities that are not legitimately to be included in a work and development order. Right, so might just read through them. And if you've got your guidelines handy, flick to page 19. So activities that are mandatory conditions of court order, including orders made by the Drug Court under Section 7A or 7B of the Drug Court Act 98, and activities undertaken as part of a forum sentencing intervention plan. Activities which form part of a person's eligibility for Centrelink benefits or part of a mutual obligation, such as work for the dole. So, Nick, if I was receiving a Centrelink benefit and to be able to receive that Centrelink benefit, I had to do A, B or C activity, that cannot be included for a work and development order.
Nope. So you couldn't do voluntary work, but if you wanted to undertake education or do financial or other counselling, you could do that activity. You just couldn't do voluntary work because you're already working as part of that program.
Yep. And but in saying that, you could also do above and beyond the hours that Centrelink have set for you. Anything above and beyond those hours could be included as a work and development order. So also activities undertaken for the purposes of traineeships or apprenticeships, so including educational activities that are required by the traineeship or apprenticeship, such as attendance at TAFE, that can't be included either. And attendance during normal school hours for children of compulsory school age. So remembering that compulsory school age is up to 17 years. Anyone that's 17 or above could actually include their schooling as part of a WDO if it works for the sponsor.
So you could have a Year 12 student doing their HSC and
that's right,
doing a WDO.
Yeah, that's it. Anything else, Tanya, before we wrap this up?
So if the client has finished the course and still owes our organisation money, what should they do? That's a good question.
That is a good question, and I'll take that question.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so once a work and development order has been completed and they still have debt outstanding, there's a number of options. So they can look at another work and development order if there's something else they want it to do. They could enter into a payment plan, or for those clients that are extremely vulnerable, be it mental illness or extreme financial hardship, another option is to apply to Revenue New South Wales to write off that outstanding debt. So that's just a matter of you as an advocate or contacting legal aid as well to write into Revenue New South Wales and just outlining the client's circumstance, completing a statement of financial circumstance with them, and just a support letter from yourself as well or your organisation, and submitting it to them to request a write-off of the outstanding debt.
Yeah, that's it, Nick. I mean, once a WDO closes just from revenue's end, and if there is a balance, we will prompt a letter out to the client just to advise them they have a certain amount of time to contact us before any further enforcement action would continue, where they can take up one of those options you just spoke about. So Tanya just ran a good one past us. So with health practitioners, so if a health practitioner is approved to provide medical mental health treatment or drug and alcohol treatment, and in accordance with the client's healthcare plan, they actually as part of that, see someone externally to deal with it. So refer out.
Yep.
Yes, a health practitioner, as part of that mental health treatment plan, can include the time they spend at the referred place. Obviously, that referred place just needs to get back to the approved health practitioner and let them know what the client completed for the month so that the health practitioner can report on it to us.
That's a great option for them to be able to do that.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we've still got 75 logged in. We're going to keep answering those questions that you're typing in even after we stop the broadcast. So if you stay tuned in, we'll get those answers to you. And, I mean, if we haven't been able to answer something today, feel free to email that email address we gave you, the wdo@revenue.nsw.gov.au.
I had another one. So they're a bit confused. One hand we're saying they completed the 2 hours per week, could be $30 to $50 per hour. But if completed the 8 hours per month, they get the $1,000 off their fine. So I do believe it's to do with the cutout.
Okay, so back to cutout
rates.
Right.
Of the
And it is confusing.
It really is.
And probably hard to explain too, but we'll do our best again.
That's right. So in terms of a cutout rate, that's paid at $50 an hour, right? So 20 hours a month would get them a full $1,000 for that month, right at the cap, okay? Nicole, let's say I told you have to do 10 hours of an educational course at TAFE per month, and that's what we've got in on the work and development order. Come reporting time, I look through my files and see, no, she's actually completed 20.
Yep.
So I'll enter the 20 in, and the system will calculate that cutout rate right up to that $1,000. If she only completed the 10, she's only going to receive $500. Does that, Nick, do you want to expand any more?
Yep.
Or?
And so the difference there is then when you get to your compliance rates. So compliance automatically gives you $1,000 provided you are compliant with the hours completed. So if you had 2 hours a month of mental health treatment, provided you completed those 2 hours, you would then get the $1,000. If you only completed 1 hour in that month, then you would only get $500.
Yeah.
If you completed 5 hours, you would still only get that $1,000 because you've been compliant with the first 2 hours.
Okay.
So
yeah, and maybe if we just decipher the difference between the activities of medical mental health treatment and financial or other counselling. So why you would pick medical or mental health treatment over financial or other counselling might be that the client has a mental health care plan in place. They're engaged with a psychologist for that mental health care plan. It'd definitely come under medical or mental health treatment. Otherwise, you might, if a client is seeing a financial counsellor or a generalist counsellor but doesn't have a mental health care plan in place, then it would perhaps then come under financial or other counselling. Also just going to refer you to the guidelines. If you flick to pages, I'm just going to see. Sorry, everyone can hear me flicking through pages. Okay.
And your counselling also includes case management too, doesn't it?
That's exactly right, Nick.
More along those lines.
Yeah. So WDO activity starts on page 15 of the guidelines. And if you flick through to 6.3, medical mental health treatment, it will state what type of activities can be included under that activity type. And same for financial counselling on 6.5. If you have further questions about that, please do not hesitate to contact our hotline or email in, and we'll try and get something better for you. We know the guidelines can be quite grey, and you have to do a bit of deciphering yourself. Yeah,
that's correct.
Okay. Toll fines. Somebody mentioned something about toll fines.
Toll fines, M2, M5, M7, go to Revenue New South Wales.
So, what
What
revenue actually receive in regards to toll fines is a fine for the people not paying their toll, which means that their toll can still be outstanding with that toll organisation. So what some advocates and sponsors may be seeing at the moment is people coming in with toll fines, toll matters that have been issued directly by the toll companies, they're separate to what Revenue New South Wales is dealing with. So the toll companies have taken it upon themselves. Some are using debt collectors, some are going straight to court. But with the actual toll fines, they will come through Revenue New South Wales as a penalty notice and then as an overdue fine if they're not paid. Whereas the unpaid tolls will be dealt with directly by the toll company or one of their debt collectors, or they are making judgment orders, I think, directly through the courts. So that's a differentiation, that Revenue New South Wales is only dealing with the actual fines. So the tolls we can't do a WDO for, the fines we can.
That's right, yeah. I mean, if your client comes in with something and you're not quite sure what it's about, give us a call. We'll see if it's on our system. And if not, then we'd definitely refer you back to that toll company.
And the unpaid tolls, if you need further help with that, by all means get in touch with Legal Aid and we can have a look at those for you.
Yes.
So where on the portal do they find the primary administrator and the secondary administrator?
So they, as being the sponsors, when you log in, whether you're a standard or admin user, you won't see that. Okay. Initially, like I said, upon your organisation being set up as a work and development or a sponsor and that self-service portal access being granted, it is granted to a person, and that person is the primary administrator. Whomever they then choose to add in as a secondary administrator, that's up to them. A way you can find out, either email us or phone us, and we can definitely tell you who sits where within the organisation.
I suppose if you try to log into certain parts of the portal too.
That's a good point, Nick.
It'll let you in if you are an administrator and it won't if you're a standard. Yeah. So that's mainly in the account management section of the portal, is that right?
Yeah, definitely. So from the main menu, if you cannot go to user maintenance, then you are a standard user. If you retrieve your WDO list and other people's work and development orders appear, not just your own, but other case managers, then you're an admin user. That's a good point, Nick.
Yeah.
All right, well, we might wrap things up. We're down to 63 still logged on, but keep those questions coming. We're going to answer the ones you've already put in and any further that come through. This webinar has been recorded and will eventually be uploaded to YouTube. So for staff training, etc., it's a good one to use. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you got something out of it.
Yep. Thank you everyone for your time.
All right.